In this video, I'm going to show you one way to shorten a horse's mane without pulling it. And I'm not going to use scissors because Spot has a really thick mane and it just makes it look really blunt and kind of fluffy. And it doesn't braid well because when you end the braid, it's just all really blunt and it doesn't fold up well. So the reason that I don't pull Spot's mane is, one, he hates it, and two, I don't know if other horses do this, but since he's white, I can see that when I pull the hairs out, it makes him kind of bleed, and that makes me feel bad, and it's not necessary. So I just shorten it instead. So what you're going to need for this is just a brush of some type to get all the knots out, and then either an old or a new clipper blade. So this is from a body clipper, but you can also use the smaller clipper blades. And I just use ones that are a little too dull to clip bodies with. So let's get started. So what you want to do first is just get all of the knots out, and then you can shorten it after that. So I leave my horses' manes alone and let them grow long in the winter. And because Spot lives outside, it sort of helps him stay warm and sheds at least half his neck from the snow and the wind and the cold. And then I leave their manes like this, especially if we don't have any shows during black fly season, because they're just annoying and I feel like it protects from that. But now that it's a bit warmer and the black flies and the snow are gone, it's time to shorten it so that he has a nice, fresh summer hairdo. So what you want to do is just brush it all out. And then what you'll do is take your clipper blade, and he also needs a bridle path, so we'll just separate that. So then figuring out length is the first thing. Now I find that if I take the width of my hand, that's sort of the general like old horseman's rule, is that the width of your hand is the length that you want it. But I'm going to share a little secret with you after we do this about how to make your braids on thick manes look really good. So let's make it a little bit longer than that. So I'll sort of figure it out. The other secret that you definitely want to keep in mind is that you can always shorten it again, but if you make it too short, there's no coming back from that until you wait like a month or two for it to grow. So what I do is I just take a little section and take my clippers, and then I'm just gonna pinch sort of underneath where I want it to get shorter, take my clipper blade, press down on it, and sort of run it back and forth so that I get it a little, sort of a razored cut. And now I'll do that all the way along. And at this point, I'm just sort of shortening it to roughly the length that I want it. So if it's not perfect or there are short or long ends, then that's fine. I'm gonna deal with that in a second. So I'll shorten the rest of this. Again, sort of check my length. I guess I could go a little bit shorter. And now if your horse is like a couple of my other horses that have thick manes, but they panic and think that when you're pulling down on it that you're going to be pulling it, then you just want to spend some time, like maybe every day, just sort of running your fingers through it and desensitizing them to not the sharp tug, but just sort of like being able to pull on their neck and have it be fine. Spot's pretty good about this. He just doesn't like it when you start ripping the hairs out. So we'll just keep shortening. Okay, so I went ahead and shortened the rest of his mane. And what we need to do now is sort of clean up the edges a little bit. Now again, you don't want every single hair to be the exact same length, or it's just gonna look like that really bobbed look, and it's going to sort of puff out. And when you braid it, it's not going to end in a smooth way so that you can fold it up. All right, so we do want it to be a little bit more the same length in this because there's quite a few little stragglers. So what you do is you're going to brush it all again just to make sure that you're not missing anything and it looks the way it will when you brush it, when you go to braid or anything like that. And then what you'll do is just kind of see the really long hairs. And these are actually the ones that I'm going to make even a little bit shorter because I left his mane a little bit longer. So now I can a little bit start shortening it. So these ones I'm going to a little bit tease back. And this is where either, if your horse lets you pull their mane, you can pull some of these and that'll shorten it. But if they really won't let you, then you just sort of push them slightly back and shorten them. So now, here's my tip of the day for shortening a thick mane when you know you're going to be braiding it for shows. So again, like I said in the beginning, normally what you want is hand's width, or probably about, I don't know, 5 inches or so. For a really thick mane, you want it longer because when you go to, hi buddy, hi. When you go to braid it, and I'll do a video on braiding a thick mane too, when you go to braid it, it's so thick when you cross over that it becomes too short to fold up correctly. So if you make it long enough that when you braid it down, it's an appropriate length, then you can still have enough braid to fold it back up and have it look normal and not just messy or stand straight up or anything like that. So I hope that you got some helpful information out of this video. And if you have any questions on other thick mane ideas, just let me know because Spot and I have been doing this for a pretty long time and I love his thick mane.